Welcome to WT History. In this series, we list all the major events that happened in the world in a year, starting from 1776 to 2024. January 1st marked the publication of the very first edition of the Times in London, known previously as the Daily Universal Register. On January 2nd, Georgia became the fourth U.S. state to ratify the United States Constitution, followed closely by Connecticut on January 9th, making it the fifth state in the new union. January 18th saw the arrival of HMS Supply, the leading ship in Captain Arthur Phillip's First Fleet, at Botany Bay, marking the beginning of Australia's colonization. Back in America, the Congress of the Confederation elected its last president, Cyrus Griffin, on January 22nd. Just days later, on January 24th, the French La Perouse expedition reached Botany Bay, arriving as Captain Arthur Phillip was relocating his colony to Sydney Cove. And then, on January 26th, Australia Day, the First Fleet landed at Sydney Cove, establishing the British prison colony of New South Wales, the first permanent European settlement in Australia. Rounding off January, on the 31st, Henry Benedict Stuart becomes the new Stuart claimant to the throne of Great Britain, as King Henry IX and the figurehead of Jacobitism. February began with Massachusetts ratifying the Constitution on February 6th, becoming the sixth U.S. state. On February 7th, the settlement at Sydney Cove was officially named Sydney, marking the foundation of what would become one of Australia's largest cities. February 9th saw Austria entering the Russo-Turkish War, launching an attack on Moldavia. And on February 17th, Lord Howe Island was discovered by HMS Supply, commanded by Lieutenant Ball, during its journey to Norfolk Island, where convicts were to establish a penal colony. On March 10th, the La Perouse expedition departed Sydney Cove, heading for New Caledonia. Tragically, it was never seen again. Meanwhile, in Scotland, the Edinburgh Evening Courant published a notice on March 14th offering a £200 reward for the capture of William Brodie, a respected town councillor by day and a burglar by night. Known as Deacon Brodie, his trial on August 27th captivated the nation, and he was sentenced to death for his crimes. On October 1st, Brodie was hanged at the toll booth in Edinburgh, his double life later inspiring Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Tragedy struck New Orleans on March 21st when a devastating fire destroyed 856 buildings, including St. Louis Cathedral and the Cabildo. On April 7th, pioneers established Marietta in modern-day Ohio, the first permanent American settlement outside the original 13 colonies. Just days later, on April 13th, Manhattan witnessed its first recorded riot, the Doctors' Mob, sparked by public outrage over grave robbers stealing bodies for medical dissections. And on April 28th, Maryland became the seventh U.S. state to ratify the Constitution. May 10th marked the founding of the Royal Dramatic Theatre in Sweden, the nation's premier drama company. On May 15th, the Australian Frontier Wars began, a series of conflicts between British settlers and Indigenous Australians. Rounding off the month, South Carolina ratified the Constitution on May 23rd, becoming the eighth U.S. state. June 7th brought the Day of the Tiles in France, an early act of rebellion that some consider the start of the French Revolution. On June 9th, the African Association was founded in England, dedicated to exploring Africa and mapping the Niger River. June 17th saw English captains Thomas Gilbert and John Marshall become the first Europeans to encounter the Gilbert Islands, now known as Kiribati. They also chart islands in Lord Mulgrove's Range, later known as the Marshall Islands. On June 21st, New Hampshire ratified the Constitution, becoming the ninth U.S. state and enabling the new government to take effect. On June 25th, 1788, the Virginia Ratifying Convention approved the United States Constitution, making Virginia the 10th state to join the Union under the new government. In Vienna, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart composed three iconic symphonies this month, including Symphony No. 39 and 40, completed on June 26th and 28th respectively. On August 10th, he composed the last, Symphony No. 41, in C major, which was later nicknamed the Jupiter. On July 24th, Governor-General Lord Dorchester issued a proclamation from Quebec City. He divided the British province of Quebec into 5 new districts: Gaspé, Nassau, Lunenburg, Mecklenburg, and Hesse, restructuring governance in British Canada. On July 26th, New York ratified the United States Constitution, officially becoming the 11th state in the Union. On August 12th, the Anjala conspiracy unfolded in Finland. Swedish officers signed a declaration against their king, Gustav III, seeking peace with Russia. This act of dissent was part of the broader Russo-Swedish conflict. September 21st brought a bizarre and tragic event during the Austro-Turkish War. At the Battle of Karánsebes, the Austrian army mistakenly engaged in friendly fire due to a miscommunication. On September 24th, the theater war began. Denmark and Norway invaded Sweden, escalating tensions in Scandinavia. This conflict, so named for its lack of major battles, was part of the ongoing power struggles in the region. Later in October, King George III of the United Kingdom became deranged, marking the start of the Regency crisis of 1788. On November 20th, the Houses of Parliament in the United Kingdom received the first formal report on the mental illness of King George III. Prime Minister Pitt adjourned Parliament for 2 weeks to allow royal physicians to examine the king. This period of instability raised questions about governance and the role of the monarchy. On November 15th, Cyrus Griffin concluded his term as the final president of the Congress of the Confederation. His departure marked the end of the government established under the Articles of Confederation, as the new U.S. Constitution prepared to take effect. On December 14th, King Charles III of Spain passed away. His son, Charles IV, ascended to the throne, continuing the Bourbon dynasty in Spain during a tumultuous period in European history. Finally, in December, Robert Burns penned his iconic version of Auld Lang Syne. This Scottish poem, celebrating friendship and nostalgia, would go on to become a timeless anthem sung around the world, particularly on New Year's Eve. What was your favorite moment from 1788? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.